Have you ever caught someone's gaze and wondered, what are they really thinking? Or maybe you felt like someone could see right through you, like they had a secret key to your mind. Well, guess what? You can unlock that superpower too. Today, I'm giving you powerful ways to read people's minds, and trust me, some of these will change the way you see everyone around you. By the end of this video, you'll feel like Sherlock Holmes in your daily life, minus the pipe. Let's dive in. 1. Check eye contact. Eye contact is one of the most powerful tools for understanding what someone is thinking, but it's also one of the most misunderstood. Here's the thing. People will tell you, if someone avoids eye contact, they're lying, or if they stare too much, they're hiding something. But it's not that simple, is it? Here's the truth. Eye contact isn't a universal code. It's personal, cultural, and situational. For example, I remember a time when I had a job interview. I thought I nailed it because I maintained constant eye contact, just like all the how-to guides said. But later, the interviewer told me that my gaze came across as intense, almost aggressive. I was trying to seem confident, but to them, it felt like I was challenging them to a staring contest. That's when I learned something profound. Eye contact isn't just about looking, it's about seeing. It's about connection. Sometimes too much eye contact can feel invasive, like someone's trying to peel back the layers of your soul without your permission. Other times, avoiding eye contact might not mean dishonesty. It could mean they're shy, anxious, or just deep in thought. Take a personal example. My best friend avoids eye contact when they're upset. They'll look down, pick at their nails, or stare at the floor. If I were to follow the standard rules, I'd assume they were lying or uninterested. But I've learned that's their way of protecting themselves when they're feeling vulnerable. Here's the controversial part. Sometimes not making eye contact is more honest than staring directly into someone's eyes. Think about it. Have you ever forced yourself to hold someone's gaze just to seem confident, even when you didn't feel it? I have. And in those moments, I wasn't being authentic. I was performing. So, what's the deep message here? Eye contact is about mutual respect. It's not about dominance or control. It's about saying, I see you, I'm here. But it's also about listening, sometimes to the words they say, and sometimes to the silence that follows. I'll leave you with this. Don't just look into someone's eyes. Pay attention to what's behind them. Their gaze might tell you everything you need to know, or it might be an invitation to ask, are you okay? Because sometimes what matters most isn't the look itself, but what it leads to. And hey, if you're not sure whether you're making too much eye contact or too little, here's a tip. Blink. It's a reminder that we're all just human. 2. Use silence as a tool. Silence. It's awkward, isn't it? Or is it? That's the question. Most people think of silence as the villain of conversation, something to avoid at all costs. But what if I told you that silence is actually one of the most powerful tools you can use to truly understand someone? Here's the controversial part. Silence isn't awkward, it's revealing. The real reason people fear silence isn't because it's uncomfortable, it's because silence is honest. It exposes the cracks in the conversation. It gives people the space to fill the void, and what they say or don't say can tell you everything. Let me give you a personal example. Back in college, I had a group project with a guy who was always evasive. Whenever we asked if he'd finished his part of the assignment, he'd dodge the question with jokes or random comments. One day, instead of pressing him, I just stopped talking. I let the silence hang in the air like an invisible weight. He squirmed for a bit and finally admitted he hadn't even started his section. Silence didn't just give me an answer, it forced him to confront his own truth. Here's the honest truth about silence. It's a mirror. It reflects what's happening beneath the surface. When you stop talking, people are left with nothing to hide behind. They either reveal what they're really thinking, or their body language and facial expressions do it for them. But silence isn't just for uncovering secrets. It's also a way to build trust. When my best friend went through a tough breakup, I didn't bombard them with advice or platitudes. I just sat there in silence. At first, it felt weird, like I should be saying something to fix it. But then they started talking, slowly, tentatively, and then all at once. That silence wasn't empty, it was an invitation. Here's the jovial twist. Silence can also be a game changer in arguments. The next time someone's ranting at you, try this. Say nothing. Just nod and keep your mouth shut. It's wild how quickly they'll run out of steam when they don't get the reaction they're expecting. Trust me, I've tried it. Once, during a heated debate with my sibling, I went completely silent. They paused mid-sentence, looked confused, and finally muttered, "Okay, fine, you're right." Victory without lifting a finger. The deep message here. Silence is a space for truth. It's where people reveal who they are, what they fear, and what they need. But here's the catch. You have to be comfortable with silence yourself. If you can't sit in the quiet without fidgeting or rushing to fill it, you'll miss what it has to offer. So the next time you feel the urge to jump in and say something, pause. Let the silence do the heavy lifting. It might feel awkward at first, but I promise, it's where the magic happens. 3. Ask open-ended questions. Here's the thing about questions. They're like keys. Some will open doors, revealing entire worlds of thought and emotion, while others, well, they'll just lock the conversation up tighter. That's the power of asking the right questions. And open-ended questions, those are the master keys. The controversial truth, open-ended questions can make people uncomfortable. Why? Because they demand vulnerability. A yes or no is safe. It's a quick escape. But when you ask someone something like, "What's on your mind?" or "How did that make you feel?" you're inviting them to step out from behind their walls. And not everyone's ready for that. I'll never forget a time when I learned this the hard way. A friend of mine was going through a rough patch, and I kept asking yes, no questions. "Are you okay? Did something happen? Do you want to talk about it?" They kept shutting me down. Finally, I asked, "What's the hardest part of this for you right now?" And just like that, the floodgates opened. That one open-ended question made them feel seen, like I wasn't just fishing for quick answers, but genuinely wanted to understand. Here's the honest part. Open-ended questions aren't just about them, they're also about you. They require patience and presence. You can't just ask, "Why do you feel that way?" and then zone out halfway through their answer. Trust me, I've been guilty of that. One time I asked someone, "What inspires you the most?" But halfway through their heartfelt story, I got distracted by my phone. They noticed, of course, and shut down completely. I learned that if you're going to ask a deep question, you need to be ready to hold space for the answer. Now, let's make it jovial. Open-ended questions can also be hilariously revealing. I once asked my little nephew, "What's the best thing about being a kid?" expecting something cute about cartoons or ice cream. Instead, he deadpanned, "No taxes." I had to laugh, but it also showed me how much kids absorb from the world around them. Open-ended questions can uncover the most surprising insights if you're willing to go there. The deep message? Open-ended questions are about connection. They show the other person that you care more about their experience than their answer. It's not just, "Did you have a good day?" but "What made today special for you?" It's not just, "Are you happy?" but "What does happiness mean to you right now?" These questions dig beneath the surface. They foster empathy, trust, and understanding. But here's the catch. They come with a responsibility. When you open that door, you need to be ready to walk through it with them. So the next time you want to really connect, ditch the yes or no questions. Go deeper. Ask, what's the story behind that? Or, how did that shape who you are today? You might be surprised by how much closer you feel, not just to them, but to the truth of who they are. Fourth, notice word choice. Let's talk about words, shall we? Most people think that when someone speaks, they're just saying what's on their mind, plain and simple. But if you're paying attention, you'll realize something profound. The words people choose are never random. Every word is a reflection of their inner world, their mood, their fears, and their true feelings, whether they know it or not. Here's where it gets controversial. Sometimes people don't just say the truth, they hide it in plain sight. You've probably heard someone say, "I'm fine," when you know full well they're not fine. Or maybe they tell you, "It's no big deal," when it's clearly a huge deal. These aren't just lies, they're carefully chosen words that act as shields to protect their vulnerability. And if you're not tuned into the subtleties, you might miss what's really being communicated. I remember a time when I was deep in the trenches of a difficult relationship, and I kept telling myself, "It's fine, everything is fine." Those words became a mantra, a way of convincing myself that I was okay, even though I wasn't. I told others, "It's fine," because I didn't want to face the uncomfortable reality. It wasn't until a close friend, who knew me well, called me out on it. "You say fine, but I see it in your eyes. What's really going on?" Those words were like a punch in the gut, but they broke the walls down. My word choice had betrayed me. The honest truth is this: word choice is a form of self-protection. People use words that make them feel in control of the situation, even when they're not. And sometimes they use words to control you. For example, when someone tells you, "I'm fine, I just don't want to talk about it," what they're really saying is, "I'm scared to open up to you." Or when they say, "I'll figure it out," they might really mean, "I don't want to burden you with my problems." Let me share a deeper personal experience. A few years ago, I was dealing with major stress from work, but I kept saying, "I'm good, I'm just busy." It wasn't until a mentor of mine stopped me and asked, "Busy with what exactly?" that I realized my words were masking a deeper sense of burnout. It wasn't just busy, I was overwhelmed, exhausted, and drowning in responsibilities. I had used the word busy to downplay my struggles and avoid addressing the deeper issue. That moment made me realize that when I used busy, I wasn't just talking about work. I was avoiding confronting the fact that I was emotionally and mentally drained. Here's the jovial twist. As much as words can hide the truth, they can also add some humor and color to life. For example, one of my friends always describes the most mundane activities with grandiose language. He'd say, "I just conquered the mountain of laundry," or "I had a heroic encounter with the grocery store." At first, I thought he was being dramatic, but then I realized he was using those exaggerated words to bring a little joy and playfulness to his life. He didn't need to lie about what he was doing. He was just reframing it in a way that made it more fun. And honestly, the next time I did my laundry, I felt like a hero. It's all about perspective, and the words you use to create that perspective. The deep message here: words are powerful. They're not just how we communicate, they shape how we experience the world. The words people choose to describe themselves, their experiences, and their feelings often tell you more than the actual content of what they're saying. If someone says, "I'm not sure what I want," pay attention. It's not just indecision, it might be fear of failure. When someone says, "I don't really care," what they're probably saying is, "I've been hurt before, so I'm protecting myself. Here's the kicker. If you want to truly connect with people, you have to listen to their words, not just hear them. Words are windows into someone's soul. But if you're just skimming the surface, you might miss the emotional or psychological depth that lies beneath. The next time you hear someone say, "I'm fine," or "it's nothing," look beyond those words. Ask yourself, what's really behind them? What are they not saying? And if you feel comfortable, ask them a follow-up question. Sometimes a simple, "Are you really okay?" will make someone's guard drop, and you'll hear the truth hiding behind the words. Because here's what I've learned. Words are never just words. They're the doorway to understanding, and when you can read between the lines, that's when you truly begin to understand people. 5. Trust your intuition. Okay, let's talk about something a little controversial here. Your gut instinct. People love to debate whether intuition is real. Some say it's just your subconscious processing information you didn't consciously notice. Others think it's some mystical sixth sense guiding you. But let me tell you something. Whether it's biological or supernatural, your intuition is almost always right. And if you've ever doubted it, I'm about to shake up that belief. Here's the truth that most people won't tell you. Your intuition is smarter than you think. We're all taught to overthink, analyze, and calculate every decision. But the moment we rely on our intuition, we start second-guessing ourselves. Have you ever had that nagging feeling in your gut, telling you something was off? But then you ignored it, tried to be logical, and later regretted it. Yeah, me too. Let me give you a personal example. A few years ago, I was on a first date with someone who seemed really nice on paper. They checked all the boxes. Good job, similar interests, the right amount of charm. But something about them felt off. I couldn't pinpoint it, and yet my gut screamed, "This isn't right." But I thought, don't be paranoid. Maybe I'm just being too cautious. So I ignored that feeling. Fast forward a couple of weeks, and I found out that person wasn't being entirely honest about their life. I felt stupid for ignoring my gut, and I knew deep down I already knew what the truth was. I just wasn't brave enough to trust it. Here's the honest part. Your intuition doesn't always whisper softly. It sometimes hits you like a slap in the face. It's those little moments when something doesn't sit right, when you know someone's hiding something or pretending to be someone they're not. But most of us, especially in today's world of overanalysis and data, are trained to question that feeling. Oh, it's just nerves, you might tell yourself, or I don't want to seem paranoid. But here's the truth. Intuition is the shortcut to the truth. It's faster than logic, and it often bypasses all the reasons your conscious mind thinks it should doubt what it's sensing. Let me tell you, the times I've trusted my gut, things have turned out way better. A few years ago, I had a friend who seemed too good to be true. He was friendly, outgoing, and constantly had a new idea of how we could all hang out. Everyone loved him, but for some reason, I wasn't sold. It felt like he was trying too hard. It wasn't that I didn't want to be his friend, but my intuition kept saying, something's off. After a while, it turned out that he was going through some major personal issues that he was trying to avoid by overcompensating. Trusting my instinct kept me from diving into that friendship too quickly, and it helped me create boundaries before things got complicated. Now, for the jovial part. I know it sounds a little woo-woo when people say, trust your gut. But honestly, the funniest part about it is that intuition is like your personal GPS. It doesn't need to explain why it's sending you down a particular road. It just does. And the more you listen to it, the more you realize how weirdly spot on it is. For example, have you ever walked into a room and immediately knew who the gossipers were without them even saying a word? That's your intuition working its magic. It can feel silly, But hey, intuition's like that friend who doesn't need to explain why something's a bad idea. They just know it's a bad idea. But here's the deep message, folks. Intuition is the voice of your truest self. It's the part of you that knows things before your conscious mind can process them. It's the part that doesn't need evidence to know what's right or wrong for you. And that's where the real wisdom lies. We're often too busy looking for external validation, social media likes, professional success, the approval of others. But when you trust your gut, you stop seeking answers outside of yourself. You realize that within you, there's a compass that knows the way. The bottom line, stop doubting that feeling. If something feels off, it is off. If something feels right, it probably is. I'm not saying follow your gut blindly, because sometimes it's important to balance intuition with logic, but pay attention to that inner voice. It's your soul's way of telling you what's really going on underneath all the surface noise. So, here's my challenge for you. The next time your intuition sends you a red flag, don't ignore it. Trust it, act on it, and see where it leads. Because you might just find that your gut knows exactly where you need to go. 6. Analyze posture. Let's dive into something most people overlook: posture. Yes, the way someone sits, stands, or even slouches can tell you volumes about what's going on in their head. And here's where it gets controversial. People lie with their words all the time, but their posture, that's much harder to fake. Think about it. We've all heard people say, "I'm fine," while their shoulders are hunched and their body is practically folding in on itself. Or they claim they're relaxed, yet their legs are bouncing like they've had 3 espressos too many. Posture doesn't just tell you what someone says they feel, it tells you what they're actually feeling. Here's the honest truth. Posture is the ultimate nonverbal confession. It reveals confidence, anxiety, discomfort, and even hidden anger. But the wild part, most people don't even realize their posture is giving them away. I once worked with a colleague who always leaned back in their chair during meetings, arms crossed. They'd swear they were interested in the discussion, but their body was literally screaming, "I'm checked out and I don't care." It wasn't until someone pointed it out to them, politely of course, that they realized how much their posture was undermining their words. Let me share a personal story. In high school, I had a big crush on someone, didn't we all? I spent way too much time analyzing every word they said, hoping to decode if they liked me back. But then, one day, it hit me. While they talked to me, their posture always leaned slightly away. It was subtle, but consistent. They weren't closed off or rude, but their body language said, "I'm not as invested in this as you are." It was a hard pill to swallow, but it taught me an important lesson. Posture never lies. Now, let's make it jovial. Sometimes reading posture can be downright hilarious. Like when someone's trying to act cool and composed, but their body gives them away. I once had a friend who went on a first date and wanted to seem confident, so he sat with his arms casually draped across the back of the booth. Sounds good, right? Except he was so nervous that his leg was shaking under the table like a washing machine on spin cycle. His date noticed, laughed and said, "Are you always this jittery?" His cover was blown, and he had no choice but to admit he was nervous. Spoiler alert. The honesty actually helped the date go better. Here's the deep message. Posture isn't just about others, it's also about you. Your posture not only reflects how you feel, but can actually influence your mindset. Ever heard of power poses? They're a real thing. When you stand tall, shoulders back, chest open, you don't just look confident, you actually feel more confident. It's a feedback loop. Your body influences your brain, and your brain influences your body. I learned this firsthand during a public speaking event. I was terrified, heart racing, palms sweating, the works. But before stepping on stage, I forced myself to stand tall, breathe deeply, and plant my feet firmly on the ground. Just that small shift in posture gave me a surge of confidence I didn't know I had, and guess what? The audience noticed. They came up to me afterward and said, "You seemed so calm and in control up there." Little did they know, I was internally panicking, but my posture had sold the illusion. Here's the controversial twist. Paying attention to posture can make people uncomfortable. Nobody likes being read without their permission. Imagine telling someone, "Your slouching makes it obvious you're nervous," or "The way you're sitting tells me you don't want to be here." You're likely to get defensive reactions, or worse, make someone feel self-conscious. So, while analyzing posture is a superpower, it's one you have to use wisely and kindly. The bottom line, pay attention to the way people hold themselves, but also ask yourself why their posture might look the way it does. Are they slouching because they're exhausted or because they're defeated? Are they crossing their arms because they're cold or because they're closed off? Context matters, and posture is just one piece of the puzzle. My advice? Start analyzing posture, not as a way to judge, but as a way to connect. If someone's hunched over, ask, "You seem a little down. Everything okay?" If someone's leaning in, maybe they're engaged and ready to talk. And remember, posture is something we can all adjust, not just to change how others see us, but to change how we see ourselves. So the next time you're in a room full of people, don't just listen to their words. Watch how they sit, stand, or shift in their seat. You might just uncover what they're really feeling, and maybe even help them feel seen. All right, my fellow mind-reading enthusiasts, we've come to the end of this fascinating journey into understanding people on a whole new level. Pretty wild, isn't it? Whether it's decoding posture, noticing the power of silence, trusting your intuition, or paying attention to the exact words people choose, you now have a toolbox to unlock the unspoken truths about what's really going on in someone's mind. But here's the thing I want to leave you with. This isn't about control, judgment, or manipulation. It's about connection. These skills aren't about using someone's secrets against them. They're about understanding, empathy, and building bridges. Because let's face it, we live in a world where people crave to be seen, heard, and understood. And when you master the art of reading people, you're giving them something precious, the feeling of being truly seen. Think about it. Have you ever felt like no one really gets you? Like you're screaming on the inside, but the world only hears silence? Now imagine being the person who can cut through that noise, see someone for who they truly are, and say, "I understand." That's powerful, that's transformative, and that's what these techniques are really about. Here's the honest truth. Being able to read people isn't just a skill, it's a responsibility. When you notice someone's posture showing stress, or their words hinting at insecurity, or their silence speaking louder than their voice, you have a choice. You can ignore it, or you can step up and connect. You can offer comfort, support, or even just your presence. And let me tell you, sometimes simply being there for someone is more powerful than any words could ever be. But don't worry, this doesn't have to be all serious and heavy. Reading people is also an incredible way to add a little fun and curiosity into your daily life. I mean, come on, who doesn't love being the one at the party who can say, "That guy over there is definitely hiding something," or "She's leaning in, she's hooked on this conversation." It's like being a real-life Sherlock Holmes, minus the magnifying glass and the brooding violin music. And if you're just starting out, that's okay. These techniques take practice. You won't get it right every time, and that's part of the process. Sometimes you'll misread a cue or overthink something. The key is to keep observing, keep connecting, and keep being curious. Curiosity is what keeps us human. Here's my challenge for you. Over the next week, try out just one of the techniques we've talked about. Maybe it's noticing someone's posture and checking in with them. Maybe it's listening to the exact words they use and asking a follow-up question. Or maybe it's just trusting your gut the next time it whispers. Pay attention to this. When you start using these tools, you'll be amazed at how much more you see about others and even about yourself. And let's be real, this world could use a little more understanding. So, if you found this video helpful, let me know in the comments. Which technique blew your mind? Which one are you excited to try? Or, hey, do you have a story about a time you trusted your gut or decoded someone's body language and it totally paid off? Share it. I'd love to hear about it. And before you go, don't forget to smash that like button if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more deep dives into topics that make life just a little more interesting, and share this with that one friend who thinks they can read people but might need a few extra pointers. You know the one. Thank you for sticking with me through this conversation. You're not just learning how to read people, you're learning how to connect, and that's a superpower the world needs right now. Until next time, keep your eyes open, your intuition sharp, and your heart curious. I'll see you in the next one. Stay amazing, stay curious, and take care.